Good afternoon, Justice Warriors. How are you guys today? It's the 23rd of August already. I think it's Wednesday. Please hit your thumbs up button if you'd be so kind. Share, subscribe, ring your notification bell, even if you can't see it. Goodness gracious, dearie me, my. You guys, I just love you so much. I know that sounds corny as all get out, but it's the truth. It's amazing how you develop this relationship with your true crime community, right? So, anybody who's been a part of the true crime community knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, thank you guys so much for being a part of my channel. My channel would be nothing without my subscribers. And I'm going to ask you real specifically if you're inclined to share my videos on like other platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I don't know. I'm not inclined to all that stuff. But I know you guys are. So it just helps the channel grow. And, I think especially when you're covering the Kylie Rodney case, your channel won't grow. Remember, the Hamburglar is in charge of the Google A. I'm not kidding you guys. I'm sure a lot of you are privy to that. Some of you are probably like, who Hamburglar? What? Anyway, yesterday I was covering my Kylie case, your Kylie case, Maui, and the Idaho 4. And I'm really feeling like I want to keep on all three of those topics. Where to begin with Maui, you guys? I really don't want to think the worst of anybody, but Maui's reminding me a lot of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The community that was torched is primarily locals, and not just locals, but encampments, not tent cities, but where people like live on the land. So, like I've talked about before, maybe some of those people own the land that they've inherited it, and then others it's just open land. I know a lot of Vietnam vets live out there, so I don't want to say homeless people because I think there's such a stigma there. But what I'm talking about is people who aren't necessarily going to be accounted for, people who didn't necessarily have cell phones or laptops or friends and family that are going to report them missing. So they're saying that they have upwards of 1,000 people missing right now. So it changed from 800 yesterday to over 1,000 overnight. And I was wrong. I said that the count was at 117 yesterday. I think it's 115 still today, the fatalities. And we know those numbers are only going to go up or not. They're just going to say, yeah, these people are missing and they were incinerated and we don't know nothing about it. So Tulsa, Oklahoma was over 100 years ago, and there's still active lawsuits over that. That was intentional and obvious from jump, and everybody knew it. And there was a whole lot of gaslighting and people that still lived in the area. I think one of the big issues for people, am I going to say this right? Lalani, Lahani, Lahaini, right? Lahaini, Lahana. I think I nailed it, Lahana. Like I said, I am terrible with enunciation, so I think it's Lahana. I've been practicing. Anyway, now I totally lost my train of thought. People in Maui, the biggest issue right now, there's a lot of them actually, but one of them is if people are going to rebuild there or if they're just going to move on because it's so destroyed. Um, I've been watching a lot of that Hawaii real estate channel, and I highly recommend it. And they did an interview with a couple, the husband of this married couple. He grew up in Aspen, and his father was like the foreman for the power company, and he's a landscaper. So he knows his stuff. And the big concern that he has and that I have right now is they're going to like spray all this pink stuff all over the whole burn area to seal it, to keep from all these toxins from washing into the water and who knows what. That doesn't seem like a real uh safe bet. I'm thinking there's going to have to be, people have been talking about Army Corps of Engineers getting in there, and a lot of eco sustainability. I mean, it's freaking awful. It's just awful, let alone the deceased that are still undiscovered, and the deceased that may likely never be discovered because they've been incinerated. Like I said, they're not being accounted for. So the count of over 1,000 is just the ones that have been reported. So it's absolutely horrifying. And I'll just send you guys over to the Hawaii real estate because they're doing a really good job covering it. And like I said, I've never even been to Maui. I've been to the Big Island twice. I've been to Oahu once. And so I know some of the Hawaiian culture. And it's really important in these cases to know precisely what's going on and to know the culture. Like, look at Truckee culture, Truckanese. Shanda made that up, I think. I love that, Truckanese. And then look at Idaho culture, you guys. Like, I mean, I'm in my mid 50s, and my whole life I've heard that Idaho, you know, it's Idaho. Just like Alaska is Alaska. And like, to use that as an example, there's a stereotype with Alaska that there's a lot of young females that are hooked up with much more mature men. And it's a kind of a nasty stereotype, but if you've been to Alaska, you know that it's true. It's actually relevant. So I think that things like that you've heard about your whole life, the culture of these places, you need to take that into account. So again, with Truckee, it seems that there's a culture of hot young teenage chicks being off leash, being unsupervised, and partying and doing whatever they want when they go to Lake Tahoe. That's been going on for decades and decades. So, when you have these established cultures and that's the norm, then when things like this happen, people act like it's not such a big deal, and it is a big deal. Lives are lost. It's a big deal. Um, so in the Kylie Rodney case, I just want to say, please keep watching these channels like CNY, um, the Squirrel Girl. Actually, no, not to confuse Squirrels on Fire with the Squirrel Girl. So Squirrel Girl doesn't have her channel anymore. She took that down. But we've got like CCTV, we've got Larissa Slaughter. I think J Rod's still covering Kylie. I think a lot of really excellent channels, Ninja Chihuahua and oh, what's the other one? Divine Justice, aka Mrs. G. Kenny, Crime Watch with Kenny. There's so many good channels. I'm sorry, I know I'm leaving a lot out, but keep up with these channels. Ara, they keep rehashing the same information and it's really relevant. It's really important. You catch new stuff every time, you guys. It's phenomenal how you can just be like, how come we've never caught that before? And wow, good catch. So just keep on it. Yosemite Sammy Iami has done herself no favors with getting out into the front lines and trying to fight this battle for her BFF, fake BFF, Ms. Kylie Rodney. She's really stuck her foot in her mouth and really made herself look guilty, as has MC. And for that, we can thank them. They're revealing the truth with all their lies. in my humble opinion. And let me just say, everything I say here is simply my opinion, simply for the sake of conversation. I'm always hoping to open up a discussion and hoping to learn something. And I hope that my videos are educational for others. Um, all of my content is made specifically for YouTube, and that's an entertainment platform. Hold on. All right. It's amazing how dry your mouth gets when you're talking. So keep reviewing the Kylie Rodney case, and we're all waiting for the California Highway Patrol report to come through, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to reveal actual facts and hard truth, and there'll be some justice for Kylie. We all know she didn't drive herself into the water and drown. Give me a break. There was no water in her lungs. So let's jump over to the Idaho 4 case. Real quick, I was listening to Harsh Reality today, and he was saying, for those of you who don't think Koberger's guilty, what would it take for to convince you that he's guilty? It would take a lot. What I've seen so far is that there's a lot of corruption in law enforcement in that area, and we can't trust things like the PCA. I mean, seriously, that whole thing with the sheath being next to Madison, under Madison, slightly under Madison, the whole thing with the leather sheath being clean of anything except a strand of some DNA cells in the button snap is not possible, according to my local law enforcement resource who's an expert in this matter. There's no way you could get everything off of the leather. So, unless that leather was freshly manufactured and never touched by anybody, including the manufacturers, it's too porous, you guys. My thought is that these people who've been trying to plant this evidence, they're hacks. They didn't know what they were doing. They thought they did because they do have experience and they do have knowledge and they do have expertise. But for instance, the this tiny little strand of DNA getting tested in a lab is going to consume the sample. There's not going to be more DNA matter to then send to Texas. Like, that is just sketchy AF, or as Subconscious Mouth says, shaky evidence, which I just think that's really cute. Um, yeah, where else do I want to go with this today? You know, I keep sharing with you guys some of my own story, and I don't like to leave you in the lurch not knowing, but at the same time, I'm just not comfortable putting too much personal information out there because it's freaking YouTube and people are ridiculous and they'll just twist it around and use it against you and gaslight you. So, those of you that have seen some of those videos that I've made or that I've been in other people's panels and talked about it, it was a poisoning incident and it happened in Arizona. And I was 11 years old and it was near fatal. And I believed that it was an accident. The police did not believe it was an accident. The people in the hospital did not believe it was an accident. But the person who did it, a family member, got away with it because we basically were traveling through Arizona and we continued on the trip and they tried to keep that from happening, but after a few days of interviewing and re-interviewing, they didn't have enough to make an arrest and we continued on to Florida. So the reason I'm telling you guys this is because I have spent the majority of my life trying to figure out why this person that cared for me, legitimately cared for me, why they would do something so detrimental to my life, into their own life, and to other people's lives, right? I mean, these things don't happen in vacuums, it affects everyone. So the professionals that were there were severely affected. As an 11-year-old kid, I could see it in the moment. I could see the frustration. I could see the officials being flabbergasted, like wanting to body slam this guy and not having enough. Like I'll just tell you one of the stupidest things that he said that gave himself away. The man was a genius and it showed. He was extremely well educated and had a lot of street smarts, but you can't be very smart and do something like that. So the thing that gave him away, and I remember it vividly, was when he said he'd never heard of carbon monoxide. And he was in his late 30s, and he'd already admitted that he worked on the car himself. So that was the moment where I saw the social worker and the police officer just completely deflate and want to punch him between the eyes. Like they knew he was lying, but you can't prove that lie. But he screwed himself up. He thought he had the whole thing wired. My whole point in telling you this is that there's always going to be something like that. The littlest thing, or not such a little thing, but something that is kind of inconsequential that these perps don't have the foresight and the insight to contend with. So there's always something. And like Sammy Iammi in the Kylie Rodney case has dropped so many clues or just flat out facts without realizing it. Same with MC. And then I think that the same thing has happened in Idaho 4 with law enforcement and just with the way they're proceeding with the case. When you look at the coroner, the medical examiner, whichever she is, Kathy Mabbitt, she said that all four of these people were asleep. She said that it was basically a bloodbath. And then we know that there's no DNA in the criminal defendant's apartment or his car. There's none anywhere. There's like the red stuff coming out of the house, but where's the red stuff everywhere else if this is the truth? It's not true, apparently, that they were all asleep. At least two of them were probably wide awake, Xana and Kaylee. And there's just so much we don't know. We still don't have those 5 hours accounted for with Xana and Ethan from the frat party. Something happened at that frat party, I think. Something happened at that frat party. We know that Ethan was in a fight. Like, come on, just like Kylie was in a friendly fight. I mean, and Ethan's fight was never said to be a friendly fight that I know of. But you guys, the gaslighting is just unbelievable. And these people being protected, these systems, these authorities that are hiding the truth. People need to have the truth. You absolutely cannot heal and recover from your trauma without having facts. Information is power and information is healing, even when it sucks. Even when it sucks. So I'm just going to end this right here. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I'll do my little thumbs up thing again, and I'm just amazed. My 401 video, pretty astounding, and just coming up on my 12-month mark in 5 days. It'll be 12 months from the time that my friend set up my YouTube account for me, and I just can't thank her enough for doing that. And as I've told you, my 11-year-old daughter, who was 10 at the time, it was the two of them that did all the hard, heavy lifting. And it's just simply profoundly amazing that I've been able to keep up with enough of the technology to do this. So I'm still learning. I've got a lot to learn and I'll continue to learn. Um, anyway, peace out. Sending you light, sending you love. Have a great afternoon. And please keep seeking truth and justice in these cases. This Maui thing is out of control, horrible. I mean, I know that forest fires happen, but that's not what this looks like. That's not what this looks like. And there's just not enough transparency. And that's the case with all three of these situations with Ms. Kylie Rodney, with the Idaho 4, and with Maui. Where's the transparency? And with social media these days, you guys, I don't think people can get away with the crimes that they used to be able to get away with quite so easily. So, for that, we can all be grateful. We're all doing our part, seeking justice, seeking truth, praying for these families and these victims, and just do what you can. So, take care of yourself, drink your water, get your exercise, eat your protein, get your rest, be productive. It's really important to feel productive, and you don't need me to lecture you about that, right? Super important to feel like you're uh, making headway every day and that you're doing what you want to do and you're not just a drone or a robot or a slave, that you're following the beat of your own drum. You need to pay attention to that inner voice. And I'll lecture you more on that later. So, again, peace out. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next